Welcome back to Your Body, Mind, and Home. Today's topic is saving water. So the first thing I'm going to do is, because the shower is the place where you probably waste the most water, I'm going to start with the shower, and this is a 1 gallon container. So I'm going to start by trying to fill up this container, seeing how long it takes for me to fill up a 1 gallon container. This is a low flow shower head. So it should be pretty efficient, and it doesn't have any options for adjusting the flow, which I really wish it had, because even though it's supposedly low flow, it really, in my mind, still spews out too much water per minute. And I take very long showers. I like to take long showers. I have a lot to do in my shower, so let's see here, we're almost done. Okay, so this was 45 seconds to get a gallon of water in here. So imagine that's all it takes you to reduce your shower usage by 1 gallon is to just cut 45 seconds off of your shower. The other thing is, and I mentioned this, but I don't have one. There's a lot of showers that have a lever. It's a metal lever that goes back and forth in an arc. When it's towards the middle, it's I think if it's in the middle, the water is like completely shut off. And as it goes towards the outside, either side, it's at full volume. So if you have one of those, it's great because you can modify the amount of water that's coming out. You can reduce the amount by half when you're not needing it. So when I had one of those, I used to think I probably saved about 5 gallons of water because I would reduce it. I would keep it at full volume until it got hot enough. I'd rinse, get myself wet, and then I would turn it down to half volume. And by the time I got done my shower, like towards the end, I would bring it back up to full just to rinse my hair. And I didn't need it at full volume for the whole rest of the time. And I used to think that I probably saved about 5 gallons a shower because I take kind of long showers. But after doing this test, I think I probably saved like maybe 7 to 9 gallons of water a shower. And when you multiply that by 365 days, that is a lot of water. And that's just me. If I could get other people in my house to do the same thing, it would really be a benefit. So anyway, that's the shower. Okay, so let's talk about things you can do around the sink. So the first thing I want to talk about is the hot water faucet. Plumbers know that if somebody needs a faucet replaced, it's almost always the hot water, and that's because we are optimistic. We always use the hot water as the default. Many of us do. I know that I only used to use the cold water faucet when I definitely wanted cold water, but otherwise I used the hot water faucet, even if I knew that there was no hot water going to come out of there because nobody had used it recently, and I wasn't going to wait for it. I would just use it automatically because I would just, in my mind, hope that somehow hot water would come out. So I would say just get rid of that habit and just get used to using the cold water faucet when you know that you're not going to wait for the hot water. So use the hot water faucet if you're going to wait, but if you're not, just get used to using as the default the cold water faucet. And this will do one of two things. If you have a tank hot water heater, then when the hot water heater isn't in use, when you're not using hot water for a few hours, it will go into power save mode, which lowers the temperature by maybe 5 or 10 degrees, and that saves power. So if you're using this haphazardly, you might keep it from going into power save mode or kick it out of power save mode, even if you're not going to actually use any of the hot water, in the next few hours. So if you have a tankless hot water system like we do, I don't think you're going to be able to hear this, but as soon as I turn it on, that the unit, the hot water heating unit, turns on. So that's a start that I used, and then it leaves it on for maybe 2 minutes or maybe even 3 minutes, and the motor is running even though I'm not going to be using any hot water. So that's probably I'm probably saving thousands of starts a day by a year by not using this as my default. So why am I sitting on the floor? I wanted to show you the valves that are underneath the sink. Every sink has a couple of valves like this for hot and cold water, and those valves determine the volume of water, the speed of the water that comes out of the faucet. So this hint will save you, again, water no matter who's using the faucet. So most of the time, these valves are completely wide open. So as fast as the water can come into the house, into that pipe, that's how fast it comes out. But you typically don't need that kind of volume of water, most of the time, if not all of the time. So if you back these off a little bit, and you can experiment with it, if you think people are going to complain, back them off just a little bit, and then wait a couple of weeks and then back them off a little bit more. But however much you back these off, it just slows the flow, the maximum flow. And even when you don't have it wide open, it slows the flow of water coming out, so that for most tasks, 95% of tasks that you do, it doesn't really matter at all how fast the water is coming out. So this is a good way to reduce water usage throughout the house without making anything difficult. So let's talk about the hot water. This next hint is going to save you actual money. And part of that is going to be because you're going to be changing the temperature of the hot water heater if it's too high. And that will affect the hot water for everybody in the house, even though hopefully they won't even notice. So the first thing to ask yourself about hot water is it scalding? When you have the hot water running full blast, is it really too hot to touch? If it is, it's probably, you probably have the temperature too high. The second thing is, has the number of people in your household that take showers reduced since the last time you looked at the temperature gauge? If that's happened, then it's very likely that you also have the temperature too high now. So basically, I think with a tank hot water system, so if you have tankless, you're set, because tankless are so new and they pretty much set them at a certain temperature because it doesn't matter if people take showers right in a row or at the same time, that temperature is all good. But if you have a tank system, then the temperature of the hot water is based on how much water you need to use at a time or consecutively. So if the first person who takes a shower in the morning, at the very end of their shower, if they're just starting to notice that the water is not quite as hot as it was, then that's actually a good temperature, because the next person who takes a shower, when they took the shower, the temperature was at the power save mode, which is 5 or 10 degrees at least lower than it normally would be. So after you take your shower, or whoever is the first person, about 15 or 20 minutes later, the hot water is actually going to be hotter than the first person who took the shower. So that's really a good way to gauge it. Now, a lot of people say, oh, but what about my dishwasher? My dishwasher, they told me that it needs to be set at a certain temperature in order to wash my dishes. That's true if you have a dishwasher, from the 1980s, 1970s, 1990s. But if your dishwasher was made during this century, then it probably has a temperature control that will actually raise the temperature if the temperature isn't hot enough. And I still don't really even think that it needs to be hot, even, that hot for even the older dishwashers. So, try it out. The thing about changing the temperature is you can change it multiple times. It's not a once and done thing. So you can experiment. You can turn it down a little bit, see if that works for everybody. If it doesn't, turn it up a little bit. And let's say you're going to have guests this weekend. Let's say you're going to have kids returning from college for the summer. You can always turn it up during that time, and then after they're gone, then turn it back down. And all of that will save you actual money when it comes to hot water. That's it for my water saving tips for the bathroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to hear about my next video. Thanks for watching.